Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the first episode of the Believers Early Careers podcast. This is your brother and your host, Rahul Ali, the early talent man. And in today's episode, in the lead up to results day, we're going to be focusing on how to make use of a gap year and how to use it to, really help you with your career as well. This is going to be focused on those that are having results day coming up, and potentially also those that might be looking to take a gap year from university or is looking to take a break after they do their degree. With the current predicted grades model, we know that those from disadvantaged areas are going to be disadvantaged or are likely to be disadvantaged when they get their results, because it's already been shown with the results there in Scotland. So we really think it's important that young Muslims get to know what different opportunities there are. So in this episode, I speak to Osama Qayyum. He is currently a commercial apprenticeship lead at the Cabinet Office, but he also did a lot when he was in university and sixth form. He done a lot of different things, such as kind of work, took a gap year himself. He got involved in a lot of internships and different summer placements. But in this episode, we particularly focus on the gap year, how to make use of it, how to set a routine with it, what things to consider, how to overcome the family challenge, and we also go into other things, like what else you can do to try to use tools like LinkedIn to really support you in terms of getting insight, getting mentoring, and even trying to arrange stuff like job shadowing or support with applications, which could be job applications or university applications, master's applications, wherever it is. There's a lot that we cover. I'm going to leave this here. I hope you enjoy the episode. Please do subscribe, like, comment, and support the work. Enjoy. Cool, bro. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Osama.
Wa alaikum assalam, Rahil. How you doing, bro?
Alhamdulillah, man. This is the first episode, I think.
First, yeah? I'm the first guest?
Yeah, and let me just make sure that I've got everything working on the sound.
Yeah. No, I'm loving the setup, man. It's looking really professional.
We try, man, but it's not always as easy as we like.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this kind of concept?
But I guess part of it came from, like we've met each other at SDIP.
Yeah.
Summer Diversity Internship, in case anyone is wondering. And I've done a lot of outreach work before, and I've seen there's not enough Muslims in terms of the people that you kind of outreach to and the people that you engage. And even the Muslims that I met, I think there's certain struggles that they face that nobody really understands. Like, you can be a minority ethnic, you can be from a lower socioeconomic background, deprived boroughs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But really into being a Muslim is like an added layer. Like, if you think about it, you look at the life of a Muslim, social media, how kind of toxic certain places are.
Yeah.
And then you
100%.
kind of have two extremes where you've got one extreme that I guess are just too black and white in terms of how they approach things. And it's like, you either do this or that and there's nothing else.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side where they're not really sure about what to do. And because they are being judged constantly, or anything they might do wrong, might be picked upon. And I say this because I think the main kind of victims of this are the sisters, where they're being judged by, small things, and it's just a judgment's made on them. And I think who are they going to kind of find that kind of right role model, the right kind of guidance from, in terms of
and that's, I think that's where people like you come in, right? Like, I know you've been working in the space for quite a long time, like early careers. I know your day job's kind of early talent and stuff, so it's really good to kind of use that and find that gap within our own communities as well, to really kind of empower them and show them the way, because there's definitely things that I wish I had. I wish there was kind of whether was different mediums like, social media or even like a podcast or something where I was able to go to for some kind of guidance. and mentoring and things like that. I guess we can touch on that because I know you're working on in that space as well. But I think this was really something needed, like a podcast like this.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think the main thing is like it's not just to have another podcast, but it's really to kind of instill confidence in young Muslims. And like, bro, like when you read history, like beyond the 60s, 70 years that we always look at, when you look at the Muslim
yeah,
Spain, look at Baghdad, bro, they were
yeah,
pioneers, man. They were leaders. They
exactly.
were doing things. The way they viewed, like, I guess their careers or what they do was really different to how we do it now. Now it's just more, okay, I'll get a 9 to 5 job, that'll pay the bills,
Yeah,
and I'll live comfortably. Whereas there, they were thinking, what can we do to
there
benefit
was
the ummah?
all the way down to the generations. It wasn't just your life of I want to, for example, the mentality of I want to hit 30 and I want to retire. What do you mean you want to retire? Yeah, you want to retire to have a good life, but are you still thinking about the other generation that's going to be coming forward as well? Because with that mentality was like we are one nation, and if this nation's going to prosper, our future generations need to prosper as well. Whereas I find that because of maybe social media, we kind of reflect on our own goals and our own successes so much that we are so drowned in our everything's to do with us. You see people to the extent where I find it incredible how people have their own lock screens of their own face. Like, I mean,
That
subhanAllah,
changed mine quickly.
that's one. Let me change mine real quick. Yeah. But yeah, I think everything's become so self-centric that we really need to kind of have that aspect of kind of giving back as
But
well within our
it's very
communities.
multi-layered as well, man. Like, there is that element in terms of, like we are in a, I guess, society that's a bit more individualistic, which I guess
Yeah,
we can understand. But then we're in a minority community as well. So if we are being
yeah,
individualistic in a minority community, then we are kind of
yeah.
pitting each other against each other. And then if you look at how some families are, where you're kind of compared to your cousin and what grades they're getting, how does that make you feel? You're not going to really want to support them. You're going to be like, oh, like she's
Yeah,
like he or she's like
absolutely.
the
I
cause
guess,
of my
yeah,
kind of my father or mother criticizing me for not getting the A's and A stars. And I guess
yeah,
there's a lot to that as well, because I think our parents that have come here, our grandparents that have come here, they've only known one route, which is education.
yeah,
And for them, getting the
yes.
A's and A stars and getting to degree and whatnot is the way.
It's next level.
Exactly. Like that's what they know. And I guess, to an extent we can really understand that. But to another extent, it's like the dynamic is a bit different. It's not necessarily like that. And I think the main thing that really drove me to start this was the social mobility report about the impact social mobility, I guess, challenges young Muslims face. And that came out in 2017, bro. I
Yeah,
had no idea. I was in government and I had no idea this report came out. And I saw there's a few articles on like Guardian and whatnot.
yeah,
So I thought, yeah, this might be big. Then I was looking into, okay, what's been done about it? And there was literally like, in terms of like career support, I guess other issues are a bit more complicated. But in terms of career support, mentoring and whatnot, there are pockets of things going on here and there. You've got other organizations that kind of deal with minority ethnics and I guess those like from a lower socioeconomic status as a whole. But then there's nothing
yeah,
really like, they did a report on Muslim, but nothing's been really done on Muslim. So, what's
yeah,
happened there, I guess. And I think for me, being a Muslim, going through like an apprenticeship route, doing diversity
yeah,
outreach, doing early talent
yeah,
with a big focus on social mobility, it makes sense that I've engaged Muslims, many Muslims, and I think there's just
yeah.
that slight kind of a disparity between the advice and guidance they're getting and
Sure.
things that could really benefit them. Like there's another Muslim, I said to him, look, reach out to me on LinkedIn and, I will happily help you. But because I always want them to take the initiative, like taking the step out to go out and
Yeah.
do something, is something that isn't really done enough. And like most of the times, those people that asked to, ping me on LinkedIn, a lot of them didn't. So I was like, oh, come on, man, where is that drive? Why are we scared?
Yeah,
Where's
yeah,
that
yeah,
fear?
yeah,
Where's that
yeah.
confidence? I think confidence is massive. Like, I speak for myself, bro. Here I am today, doing a podcast and putting myself on YouTube. But if you knew me a few years ago, bro, I wouldn't even
Yeah.
like, ask certain people for like basic stuff at
Sure.
work. Like I'll go out my way to avoid a face-to-face interaction.
But that's the growth that you speak about, right? That's the growth that you want to instill within youngsters that are going in the same kind of path that you were going in, to tell them, to teach them that, you know what, it might be better to kind of do certain things in a way that you probably didn't do. And it would have fast
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of like professional Muslim role models out there that would be in a similar boat to me. And I guess
Mm,
like if somebody like me can come out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone and do this, then I think there's far more talented young Muslims that can do it as well. And I think we
yeah.
just need a place where we can connect the stories. Because when I was doing outreach, there's always the career stories and the struggles and how they overcame them that really engaged the young people. So I'm hoping to do something
Yeah.
for a kind of a Muslim centric kind of thing. And no, we'll see where it goes, man. Like, inshallah, it'll kind of lead on to, if it grows, if it
Yeah.
gets some momentum, it could be a voice in this space.
Without a
And
doubt.
I think we can
Yeah.
also, what's the other word? Lead to the other stuff like mentoring, like maybe more career engagements. And I can try to
Sure.
facilitate some employability stuff and things like, how to make use of LinkedIn and whatnot. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we could go on for a long time on this topic alone. Let's go on the topic that we're going to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, bro, like we've not even like done a slight formal introduction for you. So I guess the main focus on this is a gap year, but I guess just for context, it'd be good to know where you're currently working and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah. So I graduated last July, and I'm currently working in the cabinet office as the commercial apprenticeship lead. So I'm kind of looking after commercial apprentices within our function. So I've been here for almost for 9 months now. Time's flying by, but alhamdulillah, really great place to work. But in terms of gap years, I think that's something that's really interesting because I guess you'll probably ask me in a bit, but I mean, I took a gap year. Did I choose to take it? Did I want to take it? Was I forced to take it? What did people think about it? Yeah, especially within our community. Yeah, I mean, it was quite interesting. Yeah, graduated in July. I took a place in uni. That's another year kind of gone. I took a gap year, so that's another. So you can say that maybe I was a couple of years behind my kind of so like peer group or
Yeah, because I
whatever.
always thought you were
Yeah.
like 21/22,
Yeah.
24. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
mashallah.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
as well. I think
This guy is old.
I think we can also discuss, and I think would be quite relevant because I know people might be thinking, well, this guy apprentice lead sounds really big, but I think you went through the process in terms of the summer diversity internship, which I do want to focus maybe another episode on, and then going through
Yeah.
the fast stream process and how that kind of worked. So I think
Yeah.
we'll definitely cover that at some point. But I guess speaking of gap years, especially this year, COVID, the kind of
Yeah.
the way it's looking with, I guess, the economic impact. I think normally, you come to results day, and even results day is going to be based on ability predicted grades and what the
Yeah.
teacher says.
Even that's going to be disproportionately hit for the BAME community. That's not going to be as good as it
You
anyway.
can imagine
So
like for like even like the Muslims in those kind of communities, the BAME communities will be kind of hit even more, especially where
Yeah.
there are schools that where the unconscious bias really do exist. Like you might not see it visibly, but it is there. But and I guess normally you'll come to results day. Sometimes you might feel, okay, maybe I'm not getting the results that I wanted. Maybe I need a break. Maybe I want to try something
Yeah.
different or get a real world experience. And I guess it's not easy to know what to do next, how to make that decision. And even like going to uni, that's a big decision to make. Like there's a big emphasis on 18, 19-year-olds to make that big leap. And I think maybe a gap year can also relate to those that finished uni as well. Or maybe those that just come out of secondary school. But I think mainly the main focus would always be on those that are just leaving college and not knowing what to do. But I guess to start off with, why did you consider a gap year?
Okay, so let's take it right back. So I'm doing my A levels. I had really high aspirations. Even during GCSEs, A levels, I don't consider myself as someone who's you got those children in your class who are just generally smashing it out, even if they're not working hard. They're making those A's. Everyone's got those guys in their class, and you always think, how do they do it? And I always kind of aspired to kind of really hit those targets, but I never really made it like that. I had to really put in the extra hours, the extra days, the hours upon end. So with my A levels, I didn't really do that well. I didn't hit the grades I wanted, and it was quite interesting. Even my A level story. I mean, my parents picked like two of my A levels. I picked two of them because again, doctor route, chemistry, maths. I took politics and geography. So it was all over the place.
What did you start with?
I
What did you start with A levels? What subjects?
So I started with chemistry, maths, and chemistry,
Biology?
maths, and economics, I think, and geography. But I had to kind of drop something. So, um, but don't forget, I mean, GCSEs, my maths wasn't great. I didn't even get A in maths GCSE. Chemistry, yeah, I got a couple of A's in science, but science isn't anything really that difficult at GCSE level anyway.
Don't
So
put
yeah.
down those that got level nines, bro. And you know what they call it now.
Oh, bro. Oh, mate. Okay. I think that's changed quite a bit, maybe. But yeah, so that's kind of the route I was taking, and I'm thinking, this is like really difficult. Like chemistry and maths are notoriously difficult, you know. I mean,
I
the
can
ones
relate.
that don't really get maths that well really sympathize with me, right? And me and my one of my close friends, we both did the same thing, and man, we went sixth form, so the hours upon and just looking at his textbook and just deeping the fact that you generally don't know what asked, and you've got an exam coming up in like a month, and you've got no idea, and your family assumes that you're going to get these A's and go to like Cambridge. Like that's the aspirations, right? That's what we're aiming for, and I was kind of aiming for something like, well, I mean, like top kind of unis, right? So during my AS grades, which is the first lot of exam results you get, I it was interesting because I did really well. I did really well in economics. I did really well in geography, and then it literally went from that to like just slump. Maths was like I don't know if it was a U, but and that was like with revision. Like I'm trying hard, you know. I really flopped maths. I flopped chemistry, and there I was thinking, you need those grades in order to predict those grades in order to get to uni. So I was like, well, I can't be sticking with these grades to go to, especially the universities that I want to go for. So I spoke to the head of sixth form and I said, listen, I want to do one A level in 1 year. So I was self-teaching A2 and I was going to sixth form S, right? So this was technically my gap year, but in this gap year, I only had a couple of exams to do. So therefore, my gap year wasn't really something out of choice. It was something out of I was forced to do that if I really wanted to go to the universities that I aspired to. So yeah, so my gap year was what did it involve? What did it
Yeah,
consist of?
what did you
So
actually do? And I can
yeah,
relate to a lot of what you said about, especially A levels, man. I also chose, or I'll say chose because I thought, I'm Asian and
yeah,
being a doctor is the way forward. So
it's the way forward. Of course it is.
yeah, I did
Of course it is.
maths, biology, chemistry, and history. And
Yeah.
chemistry, like, it's funny because in that class, yeah, in like the first few days, one of the teachers asked, "What do you guys all want to do?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, either medicine." Me one two said dentistry,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I was in medicine as well. But it just turned out that I was the first one to drop out of the whole bloody class and be the
yeah.
first, I guess, take the first L in life in terms of
And
college.
that's another thing we need to really speak about. Yeah, dropping out and the negative connotations to he's a dropout. If anything, I salute the person that drops out early because you've just saved yourself a load of
Thank you, bro.
time to really rebound and learn from that mistake. So if you're literally dropping out because this isn't made for you, bro, you've probably done something better than most people that haven't that deep it towards the end. I know people that are in university and the final year of university and they're like, no, this isn't for me. What the hell were you doing for the past 3 years, man? Like, you're not getting that time back. You can pay someone £1 million and they're not giving you your time back. Um, but yeah, yeah,
It was about to go kind of well, and like maths, the first exam I believe was C1. It was funny because I was getting E's and U's pretty much in the mocks. Then I somehow got a B, bro, in the first exam. So I thought, bro, this is the way I'm gonna do it.
this is it.
And then
This is
C2, I
it.
was ready for. I was actually doing. I was getting maybe C's in my mocks, and then they changed the paper that year last minute, and the one topic that I was crap at,
Wow.
which was logarithms, came up in pretty much every question, and yeah, that turned into a
Thank
U,
you.
and
Thank you.
and it resulted in me doing an extra year in short. But I could
Of
talk about that
course.
another time. Let's say, what did you do
Okay.
in your gap year, bro?
Okay, so my gap year was not exciting whatsoever. People talk about traveling the world and da 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 da. None of that. None of that. None of that. I was doing my gap year with a sole mission. I chose one A level to do in 1 year, right? So this A levels are normally taught in 2 years. Well, back when I was doing it, I don't know if that's changed. So I was self-teaching myself A2, which is kind of the difficult part. So that was all about the United States politics and presidential system. And I literally had a textbook and I was learning myself. And then I was going back to my sixth form like once a week for like a class. So I was really kind of, it was a structured gap year, and I was working full time. So I worked in a local spa. So spa, like the corner store, like, you know, they do convenience. It's a convenience store, right? And I was almost working full time. I was like 30, 40 hours. Like I to like a supervisor level within like, I don't know, like a few months actually. I was doing a madness. It was good because I was making money. Like I was like, this is the first kind of real money I'm seeing as well.
So did you just apply for that
So
normally?
that was kind of self.
Did you just apply
Sorry?
for that normally?
Yeah, I applied for that normally. I worked previously in like in Marks and Spencers for a little bit. Even that was a cafe. I worked in KFC was my first job. I mean, we can speak about that later, man. At the age of like 17, 16, I was getting paid like £3.68 an hour. And I thought I was making money because, again, this is my first job. So it doesn't matter. Like, ask a kid, you know, give them money, you know, if that's the first job, they're content, they're happy. Looking back now, I'm thinking, raw, like, I don't know how I signed that contract. I don't know how they let me sign that contract. But I was making those zingers. I was frying those in Ramadan. It was not a great place to be. But that was during sixth form as well. I don't think that was during my gap year, but that was during like sixth form. But gap year again consisted of me working full time, me also juggling the fact that I need to smash these exams in order to go to university next year. So yeah, it was interesting. So that was basically it. Me working full time, and during that period, yeah, I did my driving as well, my driving license, driving test. So there's a lot you can fit in your gap year. If you were to, if I could go back, and I could advise someone, I would say you really should structure and plan and schedule each week, each month, because otherwise you'll be shocked at how quick a year flies by. You will be shocked. Weeks will turn into days. Shocked at how quick it's gone, you know?
Yeah, and I guess, did you face any challenges when you said to your family that you want to take a gap year?
Yeah, so my family, especially a family in Pakistan, they really didn't understand. Because, yeah, bro, in my family, everyone's invested, even emotionally invested in not just my education, but, you know, all of the youngsters. So because I'm the oldest, right? So I'm the oldest, and I've got like loads of cousins, and I'm the oldest. So they're looking at me as the guy that's, you know, that's the standard. Like, he's the standard. So if I set a precedent, that's dangerous because now others are going to look up on me, you know. But again, the old school education mentality is that you keep on going. There's no breaks. You keep on going because, again, like my granddad keeps on saying, which is quite interesting, that time waits for no person. Time is like a horse. He always says this, quite interesting concept. Make sure you're on that horse, because if you get off that horse is like time, and you just got to maintain. You got to make sure that you're on that horse and full speed ahead. Look down, keep going. So the whole concept of gap year, I'm literally just leaving the system for a while. Didn't really sit well with them. They didn't really understand, like, well, why do you need to do that? Go straight to university, get a degree, or even a placement year where you're meant to get all this work experience. But I think I did really, really well. They were really apprehensive. They were like, what do you mean? Like, taking gap, you're taking another year out. Whereas my peers were like, and my university were really impressed. They were like, wow, you're doing all of this madness. But the old school mentality that we have is like, you know, well, you need to first graduate because then you need to do a master's and then you need to do a PhD. Like for them, I didn't really have a say in any of that. It's like master's, PhD, da 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 da. And I was like, I had to kind of educate them in terms of how academia and the job market has really starkly changed since their time. Because as we mentioned, for them it was about getting those A's, then you get a job. You do well at education, you get a job. But it's no longer, it's still very much like that, but those things are changing with the introduction of apprenticeships, with the introduction of the fact that companies like EY and I believe almost maybe the civil service, I may be incorrect, where someone that's got a degree can also apply for the same role that may not require a degree anymore. You guys are at the same level, at the same interview. Now it's just down to who performs better at an interview, who's got more experience, who can articulate themselves better, you know, things like that. which is quite interesting as well.
There's a lot of themes there, I guess. And I think
Yeah,
one, I guess there's in my head, I can think of like there's three type of parents. There's the
yeah,
one where you can explain it to them and say, look, mom, dad, I'm thinking about this. What do you guys think? Like, yeah, better, do what you want. We support you.
yeah.
Then there's the other one where it's like they'll only listen to a senior member in the family. So if you go up to them, they'll be like, who's this little joker talking about a gap year? Whereas if you bring like, I think a little technique, maybe bring like the respected uncle or the respected older brother or someone,
That
maybe even like an
is,
imam or
yeah,
whatever it is, someone that they know, that they respect, and auntie,
yeah.
uncle, cousin, whatever, and get them to
Their
talk on your
view holds a
behalf.
lot more.
Yeah, and I think they'll listen to that. But then there's the ones where they just won't compromise at all. And I think, if it has to go to that level where you think, if I go to uni, it's really not going to benefit me, then it might just have to be a case of, pushing it through and be like,
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't sign
yeah.
up.
I mean, having said that, I mean, ultimately the buck stops at me. I can literally I was in full control groups and get their advice and their guidance and whatnot as well because they're your elders and they've got a lot more experience as well. So yeah, but then again, university gap years something that I really don't think people speak about, especially within our own communities, because maybe for maybe the typical white individual in the UK, for them, their parents may be accustomed to a gap year. They may know, maybe they've taken a gap year previously, because often the gap year is almost advertised like take that year out, relax, go on holiday. Take a break. Travel the world. They may have money to travel the world. It's maybe our communities don't have that kind of luxury to be saying to our child, here's 5-6 grand, go travel the world, enjoy yourself, have that mental break, and
No.
then go to uni. We don't have that
No.
privilege, unfortunately. For us, it's like, you're getting a gap year, you're working 45 hours a week in a convenience store, and you're paying me half that salary because you're going to
Yeah.
maintain the home. You see, there's there's a different kind of way, and that needs to be really spoken of,
Yeah.
spoken
Okay.
out about as well.
Let's say now I am a young guy. I've come to you, Osama. I'm thinking about taking a gap year.
Yeah,
What do I need to take
yeah.
into consideration?
Okay, so first you got to think about why is it that you're taking a gap year. If you've hit the grades and you're doing well, and you don't really have a reason to take a gap year, because often people take gap years are taking a gap year. I don't think that's good. I think you go to university or go to an apprenticeship. Again, that's another topic in it. But go do your thing. Secondly, if someone's asked me, I want to take a gap year, I would really say, what do you want to achieve? Well, what are your goals? Because often, if you were to go straight from sixth form to university, you may not have that time to do certain things that you probably wanted to do before. There's a lot that can be done, whether that's learning a language, whether that's, I don't know, seeking knowledge in a different aspect, learning about something that you've always wanted to learn about, but you never had the time to do it. It gives you that breathing space. Again, and it's all about also about, you knowing yourself, because for some people it's very dangerous, although they've got the grades and they're going to go to university, but they want to take a year out. Often, you need that habitual way of working, and you don't want to lose that in a gap year, because I found that, like, right now I'm thinking about doing a master's, but I'm thinking I'm completely off the whole academia, like
Yeah.
writing essays, and you'd be shocked at how 1 year can transform your mental state completely. You'll completely forget about how, writing an essay, referencing things like that, and whatnot, and that work ethic as well, which is crucial.
Yeah. And I think I guess, like you mentioned, that there's the certain things you just got to have in mind, like why you're doing it. And then I think plan the routine. Cause I think at the same time, like, whilst you can lose that kind of those habits of education, if you do it right, I think there's an element where you can really learn soft skills. We can get development that education doesn't teach you. Education doesn't teach you soft skills. Education doesn't teach you those little subtle things in terms of how to,
It
really
doesn't.
influence, how to be engaging,
It
how
does,
to be
without a
present.
doubt. It
But,
doesn't. It doesn't.
and I think part of that is the element of discovering yourself, and
Yeah.
part of that in terms of like how do you practically discover yourself, I think from my experience and from many others, is stepping out of your comfort zone, doing something that perhaps is against the norm. like taking a gap year in your community or in your
Yeah.
kind of family. And then, getting out there, okay, now I've taken a gap year, I'm no longer education, I'm no longer used to that kind of the classes upon, I'm now on my own. So I now need to find stuff to do, and I now need to, take the initiative. And when you do that, bro, like it's amazing how much you actually pick up and how much you actually learn from, just stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something you wouldn't normally do. Like when I think about myself, like when I started the job as an events coordinator, and because before I was really scared to jump out of my comfort zone, and I think that hindered my development massively. But within a few weeks of that job, there's an opportunity to present in front of like 100 graduates, 100 fast streamers, and I know what made me do it, but I thought, what, I need to do this.
Why not? Yeah.
It was dead, don't get me wrong, like, bro, that was like the worst ever presentation to ever do, because that audience started asking me all these questions, but I survived, and I came out thinking, bro, alhamdulillah, made
I've
the
done
intention.
I
took that step out of my comfort zone, bro. I feel like I leveled up, and I think we as Muslims need to get into that mindset of leveling up, whatever it is we want to do at a young age. If we start at a young age, like if I started this a few years back, I think I'll be quite a few years ahead of where I am right now. But alhamdulillah, everyone goes at their own pace. Like you shouldn't.
Now, leading on to that point that you just made, going back to the gap year, a crucial advice that I would really give you is that individual is get a mentor, get a few mentors. When I say mentors, don't think of someone that's much older than you, who's really progressed. During the summer diversity internship program, which I was on, there was a talk by this individual. I cannot remember his name. He was a former NBA basketball player.
Oh yeah.
And he mentioned, it was really, really good talk. And he mentioned, it's always stuck with me. He said, always have a cabinet. You know how the Prime Minister has a cabinet? Have a cabinet of people with diverse views, older, younger, a black, white, from different communities, whatnot, because advice that they're going to give you is from a completely different perspective, from a completely different lens, which you may never have thought about. Do you see? So my advice would be to get a few mentors, speak to them, possibly someone who you look up to, or someone that is in a field that you really want to be, or whether maybe a university they've graduated from, or maybe an industry that they're in. Speak to them, pick their brains. Most people are very, very kind and willing to help others. And again, you have that notion, you're a little bit kind of nervous, like you said on LinkedIn, messaging people. Man, I'm messaging people shamelessly, and I really told people this. Like, if I need something, or if I really see someone doing really well, and I'm like, wow, how did you do that? And the number of conversations I've had from random individuals, and they're so kind. They're like, yeah, Osama, I did this. Send me over your CV. Send me over your cover letter. Let me have a look through. And this is people that I've never met in my life. And with that concept, when people message me, actually someone messaged me about 3 days ago saying, I recently graduated. I want to get into civil service. How do I do it? I said, listen, let's have a phone conversation, and we'll take it from there. Now let's do like not a program, but almost
unofficial mentoring.
Unofficial mentoring. That literally, she never said, I want to be your mentor. I said, listen, tell me about your issues, tell me about your problems that you're having in terms of breaking through that barrier, and then think about ways of you getting there. How do we go there now? And that's almost like me giving back, because I know people have done that for me. The cycle, the cycle that people kind of for you, and then it's almost like a tax that I think that I need to kind of pay back.
Yeah, and
which is interesting. Yeah.
Just so you guys know, so Osama Qayyum on LinkedIn, drop him a message, and he's gonna reply to you. You might get 1,000 messages now.
Absolutely. Well, more than happy.
But you mentioned something really important, something that I want to get into. So you said find a mentor, some professional people. Like, maybe I'm not even on LinkedIn, maybe I'm just on Twitter or Instagram. I think one point that would really be something that we should kind of hit home is, and I think maybe I need to do something separately, focus on how to create a profile, but LinkedIn is a gold mine, I think, if you can use it right.
100%.
And even like, for example, myself, I've had Muslim students approach me, and I've been like, it's not a case of someone's always too busy. You get the people that are LinkedIn that are, they get all these comments, they get all these followers, and they might be too busy. But then there are a number of normal individuals like me that don't get all this kind of these notifications, and bro, they will be happy to help.
They will be
And
very
I think
happy.
there's so many
Yeah.
different professionals there. You know, you can range from engineers, you can get policy people, you can get lawyers, you can get doctors.
Man,
There's a
you know,
gold mine there, and I think
you've hit the nail on the head. It's an absolute gold mine, and people really, and even in 2020, people still don't understand how you are able to directly message a CEO without a medium, without an assistant, without any. I managed back in, I say a couple of years ago, when I was really kind of wanting to be in finance. That was another kind of phase I had. I messaged the CEO of I think it was Barclays at the time, saying, "Here's my CV," and I didn't realize he was a CEO. He actually replied back saying, "Email so and so with your CV," which I was baffled at. Um, it's an absolute gold mine. I mean, interning at the Summer Diversity Internship Program, again, I was working in the cabinet office. And as an intern, I was thinking, okay, well, the building next to us, well, we got Downing Street, we got Foreign Office here as well. Foreign Office, I've heard a lot of things about Foreign Office, but you need security clearance, higher level security. I don't have that. I need someone in the building to help me get in. I want a tour of the building. I mean, I'm a young intern, right? I'm really excited. I'm like, yo, what is this
young
all about?
bearded intern.
Young bearded intern, exactly, and they better take me seriously. So I think that's why they did. So I was thinking, how do I get in? And I went on LinkedIn. I never even utilized my line manager. None of that. And I probably could have done. But I thought, let me play. It was almost like a game I was playing with myself. How can I get into the Foreign Office without using anyone that I know? I literally connected with a bunch of random people working in the Foreign Office. One of which was, I think, Tim Wilson or Tim Watson, something like that. Former ambassador to Mauritius. Really big guy. Yeah, he's been ambassador to about five different countries. And now he was towards the end of his career. I sent a message, and I can talk about the technique of how I sent the message and what I wrote first. Long story short, he said, more than happy to help. Meet me this day, this time. Let's go. There I am, wake up in the morning, go to the Foreign Office. He's there to collect me in reception. Such a nice guy. We go to the Foreign Office, lunch. He pays for my lunch. He takes me to all of these crazy rooms. This is where the ambassadors sit. This is the Africa office. You know, colonial times. I mean,
Yeah.
we can talk about that later. He said to me, "Where are you from originally?" I said, "Originally I'm from Pakistan." He said, "What about the province?" I said, "Punjab." He goes, "That's the Punjab office." It literally said Punjab. And then the pictures of all the white governors that were, I was a bit messed up. But it was really cool also to think that foreign policy was being made in where I was living in this room right now. But I would never have got that exposure if I never took out my time and thought, you know what, let me just message a random person. Let's see what happens. Because what's the worst that can happen?
But yeah.
They'll keep you on scene. They won't message you back. Or they'll say, "I'm really busy, keep doing what you're doing, well done." Or they're going to say, "Yeah, I can help you." And that 1%, that might just work, you know?
I think there's let me actually speak for myself only, but I think there's always that kind of fear of, rejection, like, who's this joker messaging me,
always.
But there's I guess there's like a principle that I think that should be embedded is, what is, we talk about the risk of action. Okay, someone doesn't reply back, someone says no. But what is the risk of inaction? If you don't take the action, what are you potentially missing out on?
Losing out.
And bro, there's so many on LinkedIn. I think there's so many really good mentors. And if you're taking that gap here, and it's not even like an official mentoring thing, like you drop them a question to give you some advice, you talk a bit more as well. And, you just start to build that relationship. And I think when you ask people for advice, they buy into you. I don't know what it is, but especially for like young people.
And they are emotionally invested in your growth. And that almost is like a thing that keeps, even though you wanted to speak to them for 2-3 months, you don't realize you're speaking to them for years.
Yeah.
Because they're so interested in your progression, Absolutely.
I guess, okay, so we've gone into a lot of things then. So, okay, now I'm convinced. I'm sold, bro. I'm making a LinkedIn profile now. Okay. So I think there's some prerequisites I get in, maybe like some sort of, even a picture, I don't think is entirely necessary, but it's good to have a bit of detail into the profile. I might, if there is some demand, I might look to perhaps do a program or episode on how I create my LinkedIn profile or how I kind of built it up, because mine was a bit slow before. But I think that they're very basic. Let's say you create a basic LinkedIn account, basic photo, or some details about you. And okay, now I've seen there's a lot of people in, let's say I'm studying something like international relations and I want to find a policy person, and I found a few. So how did you go about messaging them? And would you kind of advise, because I think one thing that I've seen is quite a good tip, is, if they are kind of posting regularly or whatever, maybe liking or commenting on their post, it gets you on the map. So when you drop a message, you've got something to perhaps build on. So, I really like your post about that's really interesting. I'm looking into X, Y, Z. Can you give me some advice, or what do you think about this? But what's your is your structure similar? How did you do it? Because I know you take some long shots, and I've seen it hit the target.
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, you've mentioned something, some really interesting points. Let's talk about the first thing, right? So you wanna, I don't know, you wanna get into a certain industry, and there's a certain job title. The great thing with LinkedIn is you literally just type in that job title, or you type in that firm, and you're just going to have hundreds of employees that are working for that company, right? Again, you probably don't know any of them. Most likely you don't know any of them. Connect with them. Just connect with them. I remember when I mentioned I had this phase of financial services, I literally wrote Goldman Sachs, and I still to this day, I probably need to unfollow a lot of them because I get so much random feed. It's just all these bankers, and I messaged a lot of them, and they really helped me out. And if anything, they gave me a lot of insight of why I shouldn't do this. And that really opened my eyes, and that's why I didn't take that route. But again, connect with people that you feel are in that industry that you potentially want to work in. Secondly, which I'm really bad at, but building this community in LinkedIn, comment on people's posts, say, oh, wow, really interesting article, or, oh, amazing speech, if you're listening to something, or that's a really interesting idea. Have you ever thought about X, Y, and Z? Or like yesterday, I saw
that post.
Someone, sorry?
I saw that post. Can't say it.
Yeah, I think it was like this new startup called like Greenbox, and it's to do with like climate action and gender equality. And someone mentioned like the link between the two, and I never really thought about that. And I messaged and I commented saying that's an amazing initiative. Never really thought of those two concepts. Would love to learn more. Then I got a comment saying, okay, if you want to learn more, here's the link. Really, really helpful. But things like that, it also allows people to remember you, but also allows you to have this almost another support mechanism. Which is interesting, where people probably don't know you, you don't know them, but because you see their feed or you see them popping up all the time, you almost have this weird kind of, it's really interesting. I don't know how to mention it, but there's certain people that we speak about that are constantly, on LinkedIn. What's his name? Like Asim Qureshi, the
LinkedIn Don.
I'm not going to say anything else. This notorious guy who I swear he probably drafts his LinkedIn tweets like 2 a.m, right? Him, like, we know him. People tweet about the guy just randomly. He's built this fan following, which is quite an interesting concept. But yeah, so you're in this process. You made a LinkedIn account. I advise you to now connect with people that are in the industry that you want to potentially work in, and then interact with them. Message them, maybe not directly, but indirectly in terms of their comments, and engage with them, and just be a bit more proactive.
And I think, we mentioned LinkedIn, and I guess some of the other things that, the pros of LinkedIn that we perhaps ties in with is networking. So, maybe the person you messaged might not know your answer, but maybe he might know someone that's working in that particular field, and he might just drop them a message. And I've done that enough times where I think somebody dropped me a message about fashion and sustainability, which I know very little about, but I knew a guy that worked or had a connection in, I believe it was DEFRA, so Department of Environment, Food, Rural Agriculture. I don't know how I remember that.
Well, that madness.
But and I connected her to them, and I'm not entirely sure if she got 300%, but I know she perhaps found out something that she maybe needed to know, which has helped her get on with her career. And I also advise her, just go for it. Just take the initiative, chase it, and chase your dreams, because you've got this passion.
100%.
Don't let it kind of wither out. And it leads to other stuff, like networking and job shadowing. So maybe right now it's a bit strange with the current situation, but if things go, inshallah, it improves. We're back in office, or even I think there'll be more kind of in remote arrangements. Is look at, if you're building a relationship, ask, maybe can I shadow you for one day or half a day? Yeah. And if you get a chance to go into an office, or even if you get a chance to sit in a remote kind of meeting, just observing, picking up.
It's something you've had that you didn't have before. Simple as that.
Yeah, but even like stuff like just looking at being in an office or being in a meeting, look at how people talking to each other. How are they illustrating their points?
Sign language, the way they interact
Body
with
language,
the people that are in authority compared to the people that are. These are things that I guess you will really pick up on internships when you're shadowing senior leadership teams, which is quite fascinating. But another thing that I really wanted to make a point of is LinkedIn isn't just about careers, which may sound odd. It's about growth in any aspect, whether that's academia. So me, again, I'll give you another example, is I was looking at some masters and I thought, okay, I need to write this personal statement. Now, I don't really have got too much experience in this, but I need to kind of word it in a way that kind of makes me a bit more relevant. You know, personal statements are something, there's an art to personal statements, right? And I thought, okay, who's done this masters before? So I literally just typed that university name, and I found literally 30, 40 people who are currently at work, but they've done that masters or they're doing it right now. I messaged. Long story short, I got about 10 or 12 personal statements emailed back to me. I started the conversation. Hey, I see you're doing this masters. I really want to do it. Have that initial dialogue. Da 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 da. Are you enjoying it? Then, after you've had this whole conversation, then you say what you want. Well, I'm currently thinking about writing my personal statement. I see that you're already at the university. I was really hoping if you were able to email that back. If not, that's totally fine. Thank you so much for the advice. Da 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 da. End of message. That's what I did with 20 people, and I've literally got a good 9 or 10 personal statements in my Gmail account now. That's just another method. Again, that's part of personal growth, right? That's part of, you get that master's, you are probably more qualified, then you go up the ranks, and it's still kind of linked to your career, but it's another aspect of it, which again, it can be utilized. And I don't think many people see it as that.
You know what I'm going to do? I am going to ask you for your message template, and I'm going to put, if once the video goes out, I'll put a link to your profile so people can ask you directly. So that means they would have created an account, and they would take an initiative to message you. And if they have, do share that that template with them, or just like a structure of how to drop a message to people. I think they'll really benefit from that, because you seem to be a pro at it. I've done it here and there, but you.
Yeah, no, but you got to understand that. Say if I'm asking you something, Rahil, on LinkedIn, what do you have to lose? What am I asking you for money? Am I asking you? You're not losing anything. So think about the person that I'm asking. I'm asking them for either advice, which is free. I'm asking them for potentially connecting me up with someone who I don't really have a connection with, who is maybe quite senior. Is that going to cost them anything? No. All it's going to cost them is, a phone bill. Even that minutes are free these days. Thirdly, asking them for a personal statement. They're already at that university. They've already made it. That personal statement is no longer in use, and you're just emailing it to someone who wants to, go up the ladder. That's it. So therefore, if anyone messages me about anything, I'm all for it, because I'm like, if you've tasted some kind of success, or you're doing all right, I mean, I feel as though you really should be. That's almost like an indirect tax sort that you should be helping.
It's like Muhammad
others.
Ali says, isn't it? Like, giving back to the world, or your society or community is the rent you pay for your time here on Earth, something along those lines. Perhaps I didn't put it as eloquently, but I think that really summarizes it.
Yeah, exactly. And what you're going to notice is that if you were to help other people, I mean, subhanAllah, the amount of times that things have happened to me because of certain individuals helping me because of certain reasons or whatnot. I honestly, it's purely because I personally think it's purely because of those people that I've helped previously. So, but yeah.
I think one of those, the lessons about, if you show mercy on the creation, Allah shows mercy to you. If you relieve a burden of someone else's, Allah will relieve a burden 100%. Of you. And if Allah's going to relieve your burden, then, you're going to be in a good place. So we definitely should be giving back. I think there's a couple of other points that I want to cover. So, we've spoken a lot about LinkedIn, potential networking, job shadowing, how is a gold mine for that. I think there are some tools that I would kind of want to mention in terms of, okay, let's say I've taken a gap year. I would suggest, people are thinking about it, write down what can they be doing. And if you want to use a tool to be able to manage maybe certain projects, I'll say something like Trello. We can create those cards. So it could be like stuff like LinkedIn profile, create this, reach out to XYZ individual, have another card for maybe driving lessons, have another card for maybe books you can read, have another card for like maybe traveling. Like I say, if you're a young person and young Muslims, I think stuff like just plug it in, man. Yasin Youth Tours, Youth Umrah that they do. I think maybe every February and maybe every October there's different year groups, and I think they do it for brothers and sisters. But that is an amazing thing for spiritual development. So it's not just about career development, but it's about spiritual development. It's about kind of, you know, building the mindset and
in every aspect. In every aspect.
And I guess so I would suggest Trello in order to manage projects and manage what you want to do, and maybe do that at the start. And one thing I really, really want to hone in is routine, because like the other day I've messaged my cousin to order me something on Amazon, and he woke up at like 2:00. Like, and I guess I'm not putting him down for that, because I used to do it myself in the weekends.
Yeah.
And I think when you're taking, because right now I guess you're off uni, he's off uni, and kind of off routine completely. And I think there's a challenge where once you leave uni, or once you leave college and you're in summer holiday mode, getting started again in September or wherever it is, and getting back to a productive routine can be quite difficult. Because bro, the morning, there's so much barakah in the morning, and I've seen it from my experience, and I've seen it through the other end where I've messed up my routine. So, and I think, and I deep disappoint my routine the most in terms of, like, you know, think about as a Muslim, we pray 5 times a day. Allah's, you know, ordained salah to us, like the command. It's the key to Jannah. But how is it that we manage to consistently do it every day? Like, for those that are practicing and manage it, for them it's very easy, because it's the routine. Allah has set it in such a way that there's different times. Now imagine it was, okay, pray 5 times a day at any time. What would happen? People would just end up maybe procrastinating and doing it maybe right at the end of the day before they go to sleep, and that's just going to really ruin the khushu and any quality of salah. But, you know, the way it's been set, and I think there's so much hikmah behind it.
I was thinking about this. Our religion is based on habitual kind of routines as well,
and I think,
without doubt, and there are a lot of benefits you can take out.
Yeah, and you know, if that is there for the most important thing, and you know, because that is there, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, praying salah, like, once you're into it, it becomes really simple. So then I think, okay, how can we translate that into our, perhaps, you know, careers? We're talking about achieving excellence, we're talking about, you know, doing good things. And I think the gap year, because I think, because you're not set by a 9 to 5 or any kind of working start time, there's that easy risk that you can literally just fall into a bad sleep pattern and end up waking up in the afternoon every day. So I would 100%, you know, look at, like, I'll give an example of my winter routine, because I think the winter routine I do is pretty good. Summer I'm still trying to figure out, so I'm not going to plug that in yet. But winter routine, so Fajr is a lot later. So I'll go sleep at 10, 11. I'll look at sleep cycles, which is I'm going to cover on another episode. And how that kind of works. So let's say I'll go sleep at 10:30, and I'll wake up at 6. I pray Fajr because sunrise is around that time. Then I'm awake. Then I will look at, okay, perhaps at the time I was going to gym 3 times a week. So doing exercise in the morning, which feels really good. And then I'll start my work, whether it's at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Even have a nice breakfast before that, because I've woken up so early. There's so much time. It's so peaceful. It's so nice. And then I'll just, because my mind's so much more focused, I'll do what I need to do, get the most important things done first. And more or less the rest of the day, once I'm done, maybe 3, 4 o'clock, I'm relaxed. I'm at peace. I can chill. I can do what I want. People want to chill at the same time, which is fine. People want to relax. People want to maybe spend the time on social or whatnot. But I think that's fine. But I think you can do it in a structured way. So really set a timetable. And like for me, like I didn't do anything special. I just woke up one day in the morning and thought, bang, you know, let me just jolt this routine in. And let's see where it goes. And, you know, maybe doing like a workout in the morning, maybe reading a book in the morning. Like I've got a few book suggestions on my Twitter that I'm currently giving, and people can start with audiobooks, for example. And then whether it's a revision routine, whether it's a part-time job, whether it's driving lessons, whether it's maybe sending out drafting messages for LinkedIn, doing whether CV creating or personal statement, do something and get yourself into that routine, because that will drive that productivity and that will drive that return that you'll get in the long run. And I think that stuff should be understated. But I know we've been talking for a while, and I think there's a couple of other things I want to mention quickly. What's in the gap here? Because people might say, okay, again, you mentioned quite a few things. You've mentioned a lot of things, alhamdulillah, but employability skills in terms of programs. I believe there's a stigma attached to this one in terms of the job center and moving to work.
Right.
I think if you're on a gap year, you're technically not employed, educated, not employed in education or in training, something along those lines. Then you could potentially, if you're struggling to get a job, because it might not be easy for everyone just to apply, and given the current circumstances, it might not be that simple. But you can go on to apply for universal credit or GSA, and they do a lot for young people, like in terms of like different programs that can kind of, I guess, find you like a job that can sustain you for that year. Not the ideal job, but a job that can sustain you. But there's also a movement to work program, which even me and government digital service has been involved in, where it ranges from different employers. I know BT do something, and other big employers do something, and you can apply and get my first job. But basically, like in GDS, government digital service, I've had people that have come in for 6 to 8 week placement. They do a normal job, which could be recruitment support, which could be people like HR support, project support. And if they do well, like in many cases, they've been offered maybe a short-term placement, 3 to 6 months, even a bit longer than that, whatever. And but that does a lot. Like the education of employment is a different type of education, but it teaches you life, bro. It teaches you the life skills that you really need to succeed. So I'll say definitely, maybe that movement to work scheme is perhaps something to look into. And if anyone's interested in it and has some questions, you drop me a message in the comments or on my kind of social media profiles, and I can maybe add some more advice to that, because I think currently it's a bit on pause slightly, but I think they're looking to resume it quite soon. And I think Muslims shouldn't, fair enough, job seekers allowance isn't the best place to be, but if you can, it's there, make the most of it. A lot of people are doing it while we're missing out. Sure. So if you can, even if that 6 to 8 week placement, if it doesn't go well, you still got 6 to 8 weeks on your CV, which is saying you can add on to that kind of profile. And another program I want to mention is, I believe it's still going on as maybe planned for next year, is Uprising, the Fast Laners program, which I believe
I've heard of it.
It's a week or two program, and I think maybe run 4 days each week, but they take you to different offices to give you insights to different programs, different employability skills, mock interviews, whatnot. Yeah. So that is something that you can really hone into. And I think I've seen recently stuff like, I believe organizations like Bright Futures are doing like a virtual internship. I'm not sure if it's still out right now, but I know Deloitte has done one. I believe there's a program with BT. These programs are out there. Yeah. If you Google them, find them, apply for them, do them, especially if you're taking a gap year, you want 100%. Like, let's say, for example, all the things you mentioned, let's say somebody did all that. I imagine when they finish their gap year, they'll be in a place where they're thinking, you know what? Alhamdulillah, this gap year was worthwhile. I've known people that have taken a gap year to reset A-level exams, and I asked them, like, that was 9 months before, have you started revising? Like, no. It went on and on and on, and like a month before I started revising, like, no, like, what happened there? Their routine wasn't set, the goals weren't set, the actions weren't set. I
mean, this is something, I guess we can have another podcast dedicated to placement students who are university students that are at university, and whether they should take a placement, shouldn't they take a placement, should it be for one company? Because I did like multiple internships, and that was kind of off my own back. No one was really supporting me. So I totally get the fact that you need to take your own initiative, because that could take you quite a long way.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely want to do some more episodes with you, especially on summer diversity internship and placement years. And I think to kind of end off with is the point about, okay, next steps. I've done a gap year. Do I want to do an apprenticeship, or do I want to go to university? Now, I think we might need a whole separate thing on that. But my answer in short is, if you're looking at a career such as, sciences, medicine, then the only way, I guess, is university, and looking to work up through that. If you're looking at careers like IT, software engineering, finance, business admin, commercial even, cybersecurity even at policy, bro, like they are doing apprenticeships for that. And me being in government, I can say for sure that government has a big commitment, and there's a lot of work. It's not like there's so much work that needs to be done with apprenticeships, and they're only going to be evolving. There's more and more standards, like qualifications coming out. There's more and more degree level ones coming out. And sometimes even if you get into like a government department, or even you get to an organization that aren't really using their apprenticeship levy, you can kind of easily sign up to a qualification. It won't be too hard. But even at HR, for example, I should plug that in as well. But there's so many apprenticeships out there that people can do. And I think if you're genuinely thinking about those careers, 100% look into the apprenticeship route, because you can do a degree. I'm not dismissing it. If you really want to do a degree,
Yeah,
you think it's for your development and you think this is the way to go, then by all means, it's your decision.
I
It's your
I totally agree with you, and I think we really need a lot of time to talk about that as well, because it's interesting because you've taken the apprenticeship route and I took the university route, so I can maybe we can really compare and contrast our experiences, and was it really worth the 9K a year? Was it because there's a lot of things that people that didn't go to uni miss out on, but there's a lot of things that people, you know, the other way around as well. So like my sister, for example, she did an apprenticeship. She never went to university, and she's currently an apprentice at an accountancy firm doing her ACCA accountancy exams, right, without any kind of having debt. Whereas myself, I'm working, like I mentioned, but I've got all of this kind of debt behind me. And looking back, did I really need that qualification? Did I really need that degree to do this job? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like it's simple as that. But going to your point, if you want to do medicine or you know, pharmacy, things like that, without a doubt. I mean, unfortunately, you know, that I guess that's probably the only route right now. But I'm sure that industry they're thinking of things, because that is definitely quite problematic.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now I'm going to conclude it here. I'm also going to look at potentially how maybe reviewing graduate schemes. If people think that's helpful, you know, again, do drop a comment and ask, you know, give feedback on the content, and if there's things that you guys want to hear about in terms of like, because I think reviewing schemes would be quite a cool thing to do, like looking at different apprenticeships or graduate schemes, thinking, you know, is it a good place to be? Is it suitable for a Muslim? Like, you know, does it kind of tick those criteria? And I think I've got a few criteria in my head, but you know, again, if people are genuinely curious to find out more about what we've discussed or about particular schemes that we may have mentioned, then, you know, do drop a comment, and I will kind of look into what can be really helpful in terms of other episodes that we can go into, because we touched upon a few that we just mentioned in terms of
absolutely, man. I really think this was we touched on a few things that we can go in a lot more depth, but more than happy to kind of do this more often.
And if anyone wants to drop a question as well in terms of like, maybe we not covered everything, so there might be some stuff like some challenges that, you know, you guys might need some advice on, and do drop a line. And if we need to do a part 2, we'll do a part 2, but we really want to make sure that young Muslims, you know, have the best advice, have the confidence, and, you know, really want to strive towards achieving excellence. And if it's got to take a gap year to do that, then by all means, you know, do it. If it doesn't need a gap year, then it doesn't. But the power and the decision, you know, is on you basically. But we want to make sure you've got the best information, the right guidance, 100%. That's what we want to give back. But now I'm going to conclude here, so I'm going to stop this recording soon. But no, Jazakallah khair for that, bro. Let me
No problem. I honestly feel that something like this was needed for a long time. So more than happy to support and help out, and you know, well done for all the work you're doing.
No, Jazakallah khair. And Assalamu alaikum all.
Wa alaikum salam.